Welcome to the program. I'm Mark Imperial. This segment's being brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done to educate consumers, grow their businesses, and to leave a legacy. Doing a series of spotlights on remarkable business intermediaries from across the country. Joining me on this segment is Dale Armour. He's the founder of Acquisition Experts. Dale, welcome to the program.
Thanks for having me, Mark.
Dale, tell us a little bit about your work, and specifically, who are those types of clients that you specialize in helping?
Great question. I've been a business intermediary full-time for 27 years here in South Florida. And South Florida is very global and transient. So the buyers literally are global. They come from all over the world. And, the sellers, we kind of service the East Coast of South Florida. So you could say kind of from Cocoa down through the Keys, actually. So you have all of, Cocoa Beach, Port St. Lucie, Stewart, Palm Beach, Delray, Fort Lauderdale, Miami, and the Keys is kind of our service area. And we typically represent 80 to 100 companies for sale at any given time. We list the businesses for sale on a contract to procure a buyer. So we work here in our South Florida backyard. We love meeting the sellers and hearing about their story and their background and how they got to where they were and what their exit strategy is and what they're trying to accomplish. And then we try to match them up with buyers that come from all over. They come from the Northeast, the Midwest. They're coming now from California. They come from Canada seeking E2 immigration visas. Same with Europe. We sold businesses to people from South Africa and a lot of folks from South America. So it's very interesting work.
Fascinating. So this whole series has been inspired by the news headlines of the Great Resignation and so many folks wanting to go off on their own. And one of the smartest ways to do that, obviously, is buying an existing business with a track record. What's the impact been in your market? Have you seen more buyers, and has that motivated more sellers in the market? What have you seen?
Absolutely. Florida is completely a gold rush right now. People are moving here in droves. They say about 1,000 people a day are moving to Florida, and it's really not a great employment market necessarily. So, buying a job or buying a small business is a great alternative. No one can fire you, lay you off, tell you what to do. It's your business. And I think on the sell side, there was a lot of sellers that maybe wanted to sell 10 years ago or more, and maybe they missed it in the last recession around 2008 or whatever. They had been thinking of selling. Their businesses were doing real well. We were in a boom here, and then everything went south, and they missed their opportunity to sell, and they don't want to sell now. So a lot of our sellers are older and held the business longer than they wanted to while it recovered, and they don't want to miss selling now before anything may happen.
Speaking of sellers, they've been in business a long time. This may be the first time they're actually going through the process of selling a business, and they don't know a whole lot of information about it. Do you find that there's a lot of misinformation out there and myths in regards to selling a business? What do you hear from these new sellers?
Not so much misinformation, but maybe lack of education and lack of really planning an exit strategy in advance. I think, we work a lot with CPAs and with wealth managers, and we try to form relationships with their clients maybe 3 to 5 years before they would like to exit and sell the business. So we can make an exit strategy where they kind of clean up their books and records, maximize their profitability, maybe make the business financeable through an SBA small business loan so that they have a plan. A lot of people come to us and want to sell their business and never really given it any thought that it's such a valuable part of their net worth at their retirement. So their books and records aren't clean. They don't report all the sales and so forth. And, you can't have your cake and eat it too, so to speak. The books and records have to be clean to maximize the sales price. So a lot of it, I think, is just education.
You brought up a really great point there. How far ahead of the game should people start thinking about selling? Because, like you said, they don't have their books right. What does it really take to prepare a
Yeah,
business to be
I mean,
attractive?
for a business to be financeable through an SBA loan where a qualified buyer could come in with 10 to 20% down and the seller could get cashed out, because the sellers never want to be the bank. they need to have 2 to 3 years of supporting tax returns that support the debt that the buyer's going to incur to buy the business, and pay that buyer a salary, and have kind of a cushion in the cash flow. So they should probably start thinking about it 5 years out, speaking with a business intermediary, speaking with their accountant, and making a game plan. And then the final 3 years before they sell, they really need to have well documented earnings to maximize their price.
Dale, when you start working with sellers, do you find any common mistakes that you see them all kind of making that could sabotage their success in the sale? What kind of common mistakes do you see?
I mean, the most common is, I mean, what's typical for a small business owner is towards the end of the year, if they've had a good year, they think, oh my gosh, I'm going to pay a lot of taxes. I need to minimize my profit. And they may make some major expenditures, or they may not deposit the income for the last month or two, and they're trying to drive the profit of the business down to minimize their tax consequences, which if you want to sell, that's kind of the wrong strategy. So that's the most common one. And the other one is not being able just to clearly prove what the business makes in your seller's discretionary earnings. So a lot of people pay personal expenses through their business and don't necessarily keep a very good record of it. And when you're recasting someone's financial statements, we need to understand what was expensed through the business that may not be really a direct expense of that business, and add that back to the earnings.
Great insight. Dale, what inspired you to get into this field? How did you get started?
Well, I got into it by accident in 1993 at the age of 33 with 2 children under 5, when my wife, the stockbroker, decided she wanted to be a homemaker. And I got into it by accident and kind of had a gun to my head. I had to perform, I had to make a living, I had to keep the family afloat. And fear motivation is a wonderful thing when you're in outside sales. But at the time, I was working for my brother-in-law, and he gave me great advice because I was feeling some pressure. He said to always work in the client's best interest. Don't think about the money, the commission. You need to make money. Just think about service, providing service, solving problems, working in the best interest of the client. And that was probably the best advice that I ever received. Just always focus on the client and their goals, and by helping other people's, how we get what we want.
Dale, before I ask you my last question, is there anything that I didn't think to ask that you feel is important to share in regards to having somebody getting ready to sell a business? Any words of advice?
Yeah, I think just to try to make a plan, to consult, your wealth manager, consult your CPA, consult a business advisor, a business brokerage firm, and just try to have a team around you to advise you that's truly working in your best interests. Speak to your spouse. I mean, there's a whole family involved. See if you have a family succession plan, if there's other family members or children in the business. A lot of times we work in a capacity of helping partners or family members through with a succession plan, because a lot of times a good buyer may be internally already in the business. So we help people vet out their options of selling the business.
For folks listening that are considering selling their business and would love to speak with you, Dale, how do they find you, connect with you, and learn more?
Sure. If they Google acquisition experts, it's acquisitionexperts.net. We have a toll-free number that's 888-220-1653. If they Google my name, Dale Armour, Armor, they would certainly find a lot of my profiles there. And we're easy to find, and we'd love to help out. We don't mind giving clients a kind of a free broker's opinion of value of how much their business is worth. I think that's a really important place to start before you decide you're going to sell your business, is to understand how much it's worth and why. Because a lot of people come to us and they say, well, I want $1 million for my business. And we tell them, well, we can't get this because your earnings aren't strong enough. But if you want $1 million, if you do A, B, C, and D and come back to us in 2 years, we could probably get you $1 million then. So then it's just their decision. So again, it falls back to client education. So we're always happy to do that for our clients or for their CPAs or wealth managers.
Dale, this has been absolutely terrific, and I appreciate you taking the time out of your busy schedule to share with my audience today. I
You
wish you
bet.
continued success for you and success for all of your clients.
Thank you, Mark. Really appreciate the opportunity.
That was Dale Armour. He's the founder of Acquisition Experts. And this segment's been brought to you by booksgrowbusiness.com. It's the place where busy professionals get their books done and published so they can educate consumers, grow their businesses, and leave a legacy. That's all for now. I'm Mark Imperial, and thanks for joining me.